From the Casey State Bank Digital First Studio at WTWO, this is the Goin to the Hoop podcast. Sponsored by Terre Haute Chevrolet, Indiana State University, and Kirshner Building Centers.
Welcome to this week's Going to the Hoop podcast show. It is semi-state Saturday coming your way with 4 different Wabash Valley teams still standing. With Nicole Christine, Jack Burney, I am Grant Pugh. Guys, welcome to this week's show.
So exciting. 4 teams left.
Yes, it's going to be a fun weekend.
4 teams left, and we have to start with a sad note, of course.
Yeah.
Linton Miners, an extra distraction this week. Coach Hart in trouble again. Coach Hart will not be coaching the Miners this weekend as they prepare for a Wabash Valley showdown against Park Heritage on Saturday.
Yeah, my biggest hope is just that aside from everyone, maybe getting some help that they need or, coming together as a community, I really hope that these guys on the team, and I think they can just take all of the talent that they have and the drive that they have and just finish out these last 3 games, playing the way that they know that they can. Obviously this first game against Park Heritage, we're split because it's 2 local teams that we love. But, if Linton is able to win this first game, I really hope that they can just take that drive into state. And, we're rooting for them and their community and especially those guys on that team.
Yeah, I agree, Nicole. Obviously, great teams, they find a way through adversity.
Yeah.
This is some adversity that wasn't needed before semi-state, so my hope is just that they just, come through it better, and I think that they have the talent and players to do that.
Can't wait for Park Heritage Linton. It's a Wabash Valley clash at Southport Saturday at noon. The winner probably gets Brownstown Central. We'll have to wait and see. Coach Schelsky is going to be our guest on this week's show coming up in the second block. Great interview. We talk some March Madness. We talk superstitions before the game. And, of course, his second showdown with Linton. They met the Miners way back in the first day of the first financial Wabash Valley Classic. Shifting, though, from 2A back to 3A. The North Davies Cougars, they did what they wanted to do. They won a regional championship in 3A. It wasn't easy, but they got the big win against Gibson Southern. Our old buddy, Coach Mark Rohr, who coached Gibson Southern. North Davies moving on to semi-state. Now they head to Seymour Saturday.
Yeah, and I really like the attitude surrounding that North Davies team. I talked to Coach Dow before their regional game, and he said, there's a lot of people who don't believe in us. So we're in 3A this year. We were in 1A last year, and I think that extra motivation is kind of helping them. It's going to be tough for them, I think, this week in semi-state, but they are a good enough team. They have that championship experience, and they have that extra motivation where I think that they can do some things.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the coolest things about that program is just how they carry themselves. And, they are state champions. Of course, it's not in the same, class as before, but they just have that confidence and just that demeanor that really makes you confident in them. Mm-hmm. And obviously they're a talented team as well, but would love to see them, prove to a lot of people that, hey, we can make it with the big dogs too. So definitely rooting for them this weekend.
Only one team in the Wabash Valley was able to win a regional championship on their home floor. That would be the Lagodi Lions. You met with them last week too, Jack. Lagodi, very good. They won a regional championship at home. Of course, we know Peyton Bledsoe and company with the Lions get it done. Now they head to Washington, not far from Lagodi this weekend.
Yeah, Lagodi's a very good team. Peyton Bledsoe, you mentioned. Isaac Eagle also having a great tournament run for Lagodi. They're playing Indy Lutheran, who just beat Bloomfield. That was a close game. But I think Lagodi, they've got a lot to look forward to this weekend. They've got that senior leadership, like we said with Bledsoe. I think he's the all-time leading scorer at Lagodi. Their coach has the right attitude. I talked to him during one of their practices last week. So I think Lagodi's got a good shot. Obviously, Indy Lutheran's a good team. We just saw them stop Peter Combs and Bloomfield, but I think Lagodi's got a good shot. I mean, especially like you said, they're going to have the fan base travel. They had such a home court advantage through regionals, and hopefully the fans show up at Washington.
Yeah, I do think that that's a big thing to key in on is the senior leadership. When you get this close to state, it really is that, character that you develop over several years playing, whether you're playing with the same teammates or you have a good mixture of age, having some seniors on the team who can really lead the way and, hey, we've been here before, we've been successful before. I think that's really valuable. And so I think that'll be a big thing for Lagodi as they continue on. So I'm just so excited. We have 4 different teams that made it this far.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you remember a year like this? It's been a while.
No, it's been a while.
I've been here a long time that we've had 4 teams left for semi-state, and 2 of them playing each other. Pretty special.
Yeah, and it, like we said earlier, it's not what we want to see is having to have 2 of our teams face off and they can't, both make it. But I do think that you're going to see a different Wolves team than you saw in the Classic against the Miners. And I think that speaking kind of in the opposite of the fact that senior leadership, that's something you definitely have on the minor squad, but the dedication to just continuing to grow that you've seen from Schelsky's group and especially Trey, just leading the team as a freshman. They've got something really special, and it was cool to talk to Coach Schelsky about, and it's cool to see it unfolding on the court too.
Can't wait to see what happens semi-state Saturday. And we were 3-4 points away from having another Wabash Valley. You could have Bloomfield against Lagodi. Of course, we don't know how the ping pong balls would have fallen, but the Bloomfield Cardinals, hats off to them for a great high school basketball season as well. We are just getting rolling on our Going to the Hoop podcast this week. The head coach of the Park Heritage Wolves, Rich Schelsky, joins us on the other side of this break. Welcome back to our Going to the Hoop podcast. It is semi-state week. We are excited to have not one, not two, not three, 4 different Wabash Valley teams playing for a chance at a state championship next weekend. One of the head coaches happens to be our special guest this week. He is the head coach of the newly crowned regional champs, Park Heritage Wolves. Rich Schelsky. Coach Schelsky, welcome to our podcast. What a big week for your team.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's it's an honor. We're thrilled to death to be here. We're not sure at the beginning of the season that we thought we'd be sitting here right now. So it's really cool. It's a great experience for our kids. And, we were here 2 years ago. So, it's not like it's something that's brand new, but at the same time, it really is because of the type of team we have. And, all those guys are gone and it's a brand new team. So it's been a really exciting time and we're having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys played Linton first day of the Classic, I think, December 26th. What if I told you then, hey, by the way, 3 months from now, you're going to meet Linton in semi-state? Would you have called me a crazy person, a liar, or all the above?
Probably, most likely. But we, not going to lie, we've talked about that scenario since then that, hey, there's, we knew going into the tournament, our sectional was wide open. And, we felt like all year we were one of the best teams in the sectional. Having said that, it's still really hard to win a sectional because everybody knows you and the familiarity with all the teams is, and because ours was wide open and we're throwing 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, a junior and a senior out there, anything could happen. But we did talk about it a little bit like, hey, hopefully I remember saying it after the game, because they really did thump us. And a little bit of that was on me. I got mad at Trey and I think he played maybe 4 minutes in the second half. So, that score might have been a little bit deceiving. But we talked about it after the game, and I said, we can play them again, and let's see how much we've improved. And by golly, here we are. So we're going to find out on Saturday.
Yeah, and you mentioned that maybe at the start of the season, you didn't know exactly what to expect. You obviously have a lot of confidence in your guys, but being a younger team, you never know what you're going to get. And once they get on the court together, what point in the season did you start to think, okay, we've really got something cooking that could last deep into March?
Well, we knew after Christmas, the day after Linton beat us, and then we get to play for the next 3 days in the Classic, which was our goal. That's always our goal. Don't get me wrong. We want to win that thing one of these days, and hopefully with this group of kids, we're going to have that opportunity at some point in their careers. But that's always our goal, is to play 4 days. Once we made it to day 4, we played a really good Robinson team and really should have won that game, and kind of
Yes,
kind
it
of
was.
gave it away at the end. We thought, okay, we're trending right and we're going in the right direction. But it was probably a month later, we played West Vigo always on the Saturday of girls sectional week. So that's a day game. It's kind of a unique day. Another one of those games with this team where we had really dominated and led the entire game and then kind of threw it away in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. Very frustrating loss. We've got a week then, and we play Fountain Central, who ended up winning our conference. They're very good. They're playing in the 1A semi-state this weekend up north. Great team. We, again, just like the West Vigo game, a game that we had a 7-point lead going into the fourth quarter and somehow found a way to lose in overtime. We had to play Crawfordsville at home the next night. And, Crawfordsville is always a solid team. They're a good team on our schedule, a 3A opponent. Usually have great athletes and things like that. I really was concerned because our kids really played their hearts out on Friday night, and that was the quasi-WRC championship game. If we win that game, we have to win one more game the next week to win the conference, which we ended up doing. But we had to win that game, and all of our guys knew what was at stake that night. And, when you've got a team as young as this, you don't know how they're going to bounce back after a huge game like that. And we came back the next night, and we played great against Crawfordsville. It was a fun game. We were clicking offensively. And I told our coaches after the game, I said, I think this team's made it. I think they've arrived. I think they've grown up. And, not going to lie, ever since then we haven't lost a game, and we've been really playing well.
Coach, one thing you told me after Saturday's game was how, impressed you were with the growth of your team. Obviously, it's such a young team, but how encouraging is it for you to see this team grow, but while you're growing, they continue to win these tough games?
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun, and, that's the beauty and joy of coaching is, you coach different groups. Like 2 years ago when we made this run, we had a bunch of older guys, even though we technically hadn't been there before. The guys we had played in a ton of varsity games, and they were ready for the battles. The beauty of this team, we've been able to see them grow up right before our eyes, and that makes it fun to coach because you harp on things all through the year. You try to impress upon certain things that we have to do to be good, and we've said all year, one of our big sayings is we've got to be us every night. And for us, we have to shoot the ball. We're a very perimeter-oriented team, and we have to shoot the ball. And with outside shooting, sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. And we've battled that all season, the consistency part of that. But as we've gotten here in the last month and a half, the ball's starting to go in more than it's not. And I'm just so glad that our guys, for as young as they are, have stayed with that process and not hesitated and just kept letting her go. And, we've seen the results, and that, again, that's what makes coaching fun.
Got to be extra special fun when you have Trey, your son involved too. I mean, a lot of young guys, but I know that's another element too, certainly, Coach, to have Trey along for this ride as well.
Makes it really special. Unfortunately for Trey, and he would admit this too, I mean, I am excruciatingly hard on Trey. My expectation level for him is probably to term it ridiculous. But, he's my kid, and I told the people that are broadcasting our game yesterday this when they called and asked about our team. I was like, I've never coached Trey growing up. That I've made it purposeful that I did not do that because I felt like he needed to hear a different voice all the time. Mm-hmm. He's going to hear it from me when he gets in the car and rides home, and he's going to hear it from me when he gets home. But I didn't think I needed to be around him all the time because I knew he was going to spend 4 years with me. And, and we prepped for this year, with what all we had lost and everything that was going to be put on Trey's shoulders. He understood, and I'm sure he feels like sometimes the weight of the world's on his shoulders for everything that he has to do for this team. But he understood going in that, coach/dad was going to have to be really hard on him. And my expectation level was going to have to be really high because that was the only way we were going to become a great team. And, he's burdened all that and taken it. And, we're definitely not here without him. And to experience it with him, means the world to me. My favorite picture that I've seen when we won the sectional, obviously, and I hope I don't tear up because it makes me pretty touchy every time I talk about it. But the first guy I sought out was Trey, and there's a big picture of us hugging, and that's something that's never, and hopefully, we get to do this multiple times throughout his career, but that's the first one, and can't trade that for anything.
Yeah, it's definitely a special thing. We love watching you guys be able to have that as well. And he got a good shout out on Twitter from Logan Webb, another, really good hooper. He said, your son's quite the hooper. And, Linton is going to be quite a competitor. You've seen him already this year. You know what they're bringing to the table. Obviously, we don't want to give away too much of your game plan, but what do you think are going to be the key things for your team against these Miners?
Well, first of all, Linton's a great team. They're the best team we've played this year, and now that we play them again, they're going to be the best team we've played again. They just have all the right pieces, and just such good players, and we know them so well. That's so unique about this weekend is we're playing somebody we know. Like last week, we had to spend all Sunday, Monday, Tuesday really figuring out who Northeastern was. Right. And we know these guys, and not that I haven't gotten tons of film like I do on everybody, but the emphasis on watching all of it isn't necessarily as much because we know them. Trey knows all their guys, they're buddies, and they whatever social media platforms they all use nowadays. They talk all the time, and telling me he was talking to little Joey yesterday morning. I mean, so there's there's a relationship there that makes this game pretty unique, and a lot of respect, and that's why I'm looking forward to Saturday. But it's a tall task for us, and that kind of sounds funny to say that. Their smallest starter is taller than our tallest starter. I'm sure their skinniest starter weighs more than our heaviest starter. There is a lot of serious matchup issues that we have with them. But having said that, we've seen them. We did not handle their 1-3-1 very well in the Classic. It really gave us trouble. We're a team that doesn't turn the ball over very much. So, we had a bunch of turnovers that day, and we had a hard time scoring. That's obviously at the top of the list. We have to be able to figure out how to handle their 1-3-1, and at the very least, just get shots up on goal. We can't afford to turn the ball over to them and give them easy breakaway points because they're, and that's the case in any game. There's no defense to that. Playing against a set defense is a lot different than getting out in transition and dunking one because you got to steal. So that comes up as the first big thing, and then the second big thing when you talk, there's some, like I told our guys Monday. Obviously, we have gotten a lot better defensively, and we're going to guard them. I mean, we're not going to change a lot of what we do, but we could guard our butts off Saturday and still give up some buckets because they're just that good. I mean, they really are. Where we have to improve from the first time we played them, and honestly, from where everybody has played them, you have to keep them off the offensive glass. They are such a good offensive rebounding team, and, that's something for us going into every game. That's a big key for us. Again, we're not the tallest, biggest, thickest. So we talk about rebounding all the time. And for us, if we can just be around even when it comes to the rebounding numbers, then we feel like we have the advantage because we do have the capability of turning people over. And that's going to be a tall task. So honestly, those are the two big ones that stick out for us, are being able to handle their 1-3-1 and keeping them off the offensive glass.
Coach, your team is so young, and obviously you guys have already accomplished a lot this season. But just talk a little bit about the opportunity on Saturday. Get the first taste of semi-state basketball with this group, because obviously this is something you guys look like you want to do. Obviously, you think you're going to do for years to come.
Absolutely, and that's when we got back to practice Monday, and Monday's are tournament weeks. We always just watch film. We don't get out on the court. Again, that's the unique thing about this week. Normally we're playing somebody our kids don't know at all. Like last Monday, our kids, you could have put a map of Indiana up and our kids probably couldn't have come within 60 miles of where Northeastern was. They probably had no clue where Northeastern High School was. Little different this week, but we went ahead and watched Linton's regional game against North Decatur. But what we talked about, when we got done watching them before I dismissed them, with our group, and we've been coining the phrase once we won the sectional, we're playing on house money. We really are. We're, not that we didn't expect to have a chance to win the sectional or anything like that, but anything past that was going to be a tremendous accomplishment for this group. And, nobody thought we'd be here. We do have 9 losses and things like that. So, we've gone above and beyond that. So we really this Saturday have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And, I hate saying that for the 3 seniors that are on our team because this is their last hurrah. But at the same time, just to reiterate what I just said, we're going on a magical ride here that they're never going to forget. And, whatever we've done and accomplished, I think has definitely fulfilled their careers. And for the guys coming back, that's what we're using Saturday. Don't get me wrong. We're going to go try to play to win, and we're going to try to give ourselves the best chance possible to win the game. But no matter what happens, again, like you said, we hope to be here again, hopefully more than once. And the experience of being there, just the experience of the travel, like last Saturday, because of the way the regionals have changed, always in the past we had gone and stayed all night the night before. We didn't have to do that last Saturday because we didn't play till 4 o'clock, and we kind of skewed what we did last Saturday and went early and walked through at Mount Vernon and did some things there. But this Saturday we do have to go stay all night. These guys haven't done that yet. So all of these experiences, win, lose, or draw this weekend, when we go forward, they're going to be ready for it. They're going to know what to expect. They're going to, that's the beauty of it is that, we're putting ourselves in a position that maybe we're a little bit early getting there in terms of, postseason success. But going forward now, they're going to know what to expect. They're going to know, all the ins and outs of the weeks and practice the day before and things like that. So, we're going to use this to our utmost advantage in terms of building upon it and making the best of it.
Coach, we love talking basketball. We want to talk a little about you as a basketball coach. Are you superstitious? Are you a little stitious? Is there a couple things you have to do on a game day? Certainly a semi-state game day, different than a normal weekday game day. But is there a couple of things you like to do on game day? A pregame meal, a postgame meal, a certain song? Take us a little through to Coach Schelsky's brain on a game day.
The big superstition I have is I have to shower right before the game. I don't know why. But
you got to be fresh.
Yeah.
But like that was one of the prerequisites when we went to Mount Vernon last week. They had to make sure that they had a coach's shower so I could take a shower before we got on the bus and drove to Greenfield. Be the same way this weekend before we get on the bus at the hotel. I'm going to have to take a shower. I do the same thing during home games. I usually go down with about 10 or 15 minutes to go in JV warm-ups and go take a shower. I don't know why that is. I've just always done it. And so that's probably the most superstitious thing. I'm an old baseball guy, so I do have a lot of superstitions. Like as a golfer, I'm very superstitious. I line my ball up the same way every time. Sure. If I make couple birdies in a row, then I'm definitely using that ball until I make a bogey. So, there's a lot of things in golf that I'm very superstitious in. Coaching wise, that's probably the big one.
Awesome.
Well, we also love the Park Heritage fan base and the community up there. It's not every day that you see a community that is able to go through like a consolidation and really band together. I mean, the first year I was here, I did a story about, just how well everyone was really doing with that. And it really is true. And now seeing the success of the program through your eyes, what does it mean to have that community just together? And I mean, those Wolves fans, they're some of the best around.
Our fans are awesome. And our support's been awesome since we've become Park Heritage. And, to be honest, it was awesome before that for both Rockville and Turkey Run. We have a very athletically minded community. Not to say that's the most important thing in our community, but it definitely is one of the things that brings a lot of people together. There are two things, in my opinion, and this is not cutting on education or anything else that's in Central and Northern Park County. There are two things that band our community together the most during the years. The 4-H fair, because that's a big deal in Park County, and anytime one of our athletic teams makes a run in the tournament. And it's so awesome to be a part of and obviously live there and live it. And, you know, like you said, Nicole, that nobody knew when we got into it how it was actually going to go. And to be honest, I mean, there's been a few bumps in the road and things like that, but our transition into Park Heritage and the people banding together has been basically seamless. And, you know, that there's a lot of people, you know, out there behind the scenes, in the scenes that deserve a lot of credit for that. But I think most importantly, our community deserves the most credit for that because they bought into it. And you know, there were some long old rivals there, and you know, people that grew up really kind of hating each other. Yeah. And now you see, you know, you look across the gym, and those people are sitting with each other
really cool
at games.
To see, yeah.
And you know, I have to sometimes kind of, just like with this team, I have to sometimes pinch myself and say, yeah, we're really doing this. I do that same thing, you know, at a home game when I look across in the bleachers and see some of our people that 5, 6, 7 years ago were bitter rivals that are sitting next to each other every game. I mean, that's the fun part of it, and we appreciate all the support. And, you know, obviously there's other places out there in the state that have great fan bases, you know, including some that are playing this weekend with us. But, you know, we're pretty partial to our people, and we really appreciate everything they do for us.
Coach, it's obviously March, you know, tournament basketball time, not only for high school but for college. March Madness getting ready to start. Are there any, you got a bracket in front of you, are there any teams that you think can make a deep run this year?
Well, I'm a diehard IU fan.
Yes, my man, I love it.
But I'm not going to comment on them because they're a yo-yo, and you never know if Jekyll or Hyde is going to come out. When I was actually at Coach Wolfley's house watching the selection show with him Sunday, so we watched it together.
I apologize for that if you're at Wolfley's house.
He's one of my best buddies in the world.
We love Wolfley, yes.
The one thing that struck to me right when the draw came out, I thought, and you know, I know Purdue, and I'm an IU fan, but at the same time, I really like Coach Painter. I think he does a great job, and you know, when they're not playing IU, I kind of root for him a little bit. I'm not going to say that too loud. And I understand with them being the 4th number 1 seed, they were going to have a tough path. I thought they got a really bad draw in the second round. I think if Memphis wins that game, I think that is a really tough matchup. I just, that scares me because I think they're very volatile. I think they can, you know, if that Memphis team shows up to play on Sunday, I mean, that could be a knockdown, drag out, shootout kind of game because you got to score to. If Memphis is clicking, you got to score to keep up with them. And one of Purdue's bugaboos down the stretch has been, you know, if Edey's not scoring, sometimes they've struggled to score. And then the other thing that struck me, I thought, and, you know, it's funny that people are sleeping on them this year. Nobody really has talked a lot about Gonzaga. I thought they got a good draw. I thought they got in a good bracket. So I haven't filled my bracket out yet, but if I was going to say there's a sleeper out there that has the tournament experience and maybe kind of now has it to where they've kind of got the chip on their shoulder again that they haven't had for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, it could be them. But ultimately, though, I really like UCLA. I think anybody's crazy if you bet against Kansas in the tournament. I think Bill Self's that good. And, you know, obviously, you know, the Arizona's good. You know, they beat UCLA in the Pac-12 championship game. This is going to be a crazy tournament. I mean, it's just going to be a crazy tournament. There's going to be, you know, like one of the things I think is going to happen, you know, as you look at the bracket in front of you, you know, there are seeds next to teams. So they're going to look like upsets when they start happening tomorrow and Friday. But they're really not going to be upsets. I mean, I think there's so much parity out there in college basketball that, yes, there'll be upsets because of the seed numbers. But, man, there's some really good teams that have some high seeds. And I just think, you know, it's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, it really is.
Is there a better weekend of the year? I mean, you get March Madness, then for us, you get build-ups to semi-state. You know, we have the high school and March Madness. This week's special for us.
It kind of stinks. I wish the NCAA tournament started about a week later because I'd really like to just solely focus on us playing. But, you know, that's going to be hard to do Thursday night when I get home and all the college games are on because, you know, that as a basketball guy, that always piques your interest and something that, you know, I make sure I try to watch all the time. And not going to lie, we're not in school this year because we leave for spring break after Thursday. But normally on a normal Friday of spring break in my office, I will have one game on my TV, and I'm fortunate to have 3 computer screens in my office. So I have 4 games.
Yes.
I have 4 games going on at once. So I'm going to have to figure out how I can skew that at home for a little bit, and then we leave for Indianapolis at 1:30. I'm sure my phone and everything else on the bus will be going on.
Get some Wi-Fi on the bus.
Yeah, and you'll be watching that late IU game on
Yes.
Friday.
Friday.
That
Well,
doesn't help either, does it?
That's, I mean, obviously I'll stay up and watch it, but I think I've got on our itinerary that our kids have to be in bed by 10:30, 10:45, so I'll probably have to keep a little bit of a close eye.
Yeah.
On some of them, because like my son, he's a big IU fan, so I'm sure he's going to try to want to watch the game.
Can't wait for that. And best of luck. Hopefully your bracket will at least beat Coach Wolfley's
I
bracket,
hope
right,
so.
Coach?
Sure do.
Hey, Coach, it's a busy week. Thanks for taking some time to join us on a special week. We can't wait to see the Wolves and Miners on Saturday in Semi-State. Thanks for dropping by this
Thanks so much for having me. It's been fun and really appreciate it. It's an honor.
week. He is Coach Schelsky of the Park Heritage Wolves. We're back with more Going to the Hoop podcast right after this.
Here are this week's matchups. Kirshner Building Center is proud to support local sports in the Wabash Valley.
Welcome back to our Going to the Hoop podcast. Special thanks to Coach Schelsky of the Park Heritage Wolves for joining us this week. They have the big one, of course, with the Linton Miners, number 1, Saturday at Southport. The winner advances to the semi-state championship game. Guys, we have to talk about a very big basketball game that has already happened this week. Nicole could not play. Jack got his first taste, but most importantly, we raised $1,000 for 4-H in Vermilion County. Someone else in this room, Luke, did not play either, but hey, special night coming together. We've all kind of played in this before for a good cause for 4-H.
Yeah.
Wasn't it so much fun? I was so bummed.
It was very fun. I had 4 points, so not to brag, but that was one of the highs on
That's
the team.
4 more than I can guarantee a few other people.
Oh, it
had, I'm
was,
sure.
but it was fun to play, and obviously, playing for a good cause, that just makes it that much better. So
Yeah.
it was a good experience to be a part of.
When
Yeah.
Jesse asks, we have to answer, and Jesse's
Of course.
been doing that game for a long time. Great to help out. We're talking, of course, about WTWO against the teachers and coaches of Vermilion County, and yeah, you've played in it before.
Oh
Luke's played in
yeah, it was a lot of
before.
fun. Already talking smack with Coach Marietta about next year. So, and I'm going to make Luke come next year. So,
Absolutely.
I'll be healthy. Luke will be there, and we'll add 4 more points
There we
to
go.
that,
There we
and
go.
they will all be from Luke. They won't be from me, but it'll be fun. I
Mike
love it.
Palella win. Now we have to talk about, this might be the most magical week of the year. We have March Madness. We have semi-state, but also don't forget maybe the best holiday of the year, one of St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
What goes better with basketball than St. Patrick's Day? And the ultimate showdown coming your way Friday night. It'll probably be 10 o'clock. You know it's going to start late. It's Kent State
Yep.
against IU. We've got Nicole versus Jack.
Yep.
Winner advances to the round of 32 in March Madness.
Yeah, I missed the memo to wear and rep my team today, so I look bad already. Congratulations to Jack. You win that one. But I'm excited about it. We already have a little bit of a friendly wager that people will see the outcome of on next week's podcast. So tune in for that. But I think it's going to be a good game. I am not underestimating Kent State. Don't worry. Especially, it just depends who's your team you get. So how are you feeling about it?
I think IU's very good, and I think IU on paper is better than Kent State. But I think Kent State is a team you don't want to sleep on in March. What do
No.
you need? What do you need to win in March? You need good guard play. Well, Kent State, they're 2 guards. One of them was the MAC Player of the Year last year. One of them was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year this year. So they've got 2 guards: Sincere Carey, Malik Jacobs. IU fans, you're going to hear those names a lot, probably Friday night, and they're going to tell the story of if Kent State wins. IU has a size advantage. Kent State doesn't have a lot of size. So Trace Jackson Davis, I think, is going to have a great game. The key for IU, in my opinion, is if Jalen Hood-Schifino shows up.
Yeah.
Because Kent State has 2 senior guards that are very good defensively. If they can shut down Hood-Schifino, I think IU might have a little bit of trouble. But it'll be a good game. I'm hoping for a good game. I think Kent State could pull the upset. Obviously, I went there, so I am going to be rooting for them. But I think a lot of other people think that this is an upset possibility as well. Kent State, they played Gonzaga and Houston and led in the last 2 minutes of both those games in the non-con. So they've been battle-tested in the non-con and obviously in the MAC too. So it'll be a good game. I'm hoping for at least a close game. If Kent State doesn't pull the upset, I just hope that they make it exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I hope that I'm texting you at midnight and I'm like, hey, I hope you're awake and rest up for
Oh, I
your
will be.
games
I will be.
tomorrow.
Oh, for
Yeah. So, but it'll be fun. And it's always fun to have a little friendly competition
yeah.
in the
Always.
office too. So,
What other games kind of stand out to you guys as we look at our brackets here, this first round of NCAA tournament. Certainly, of course, Purdue, we're going to touch on them. They have a tough bracket, I feel like. Duke's in their bracket, of course. A couple other tough teams.
When Coach Schelsky was talking about Purdue and Memphis, that's something that I had paused when I was kind of filling out my bracket earlier, my first bracket that I did, just kind of stopping on that game because Big Ten teams have a history of, falling flat. And I like to root for the Big Ten. I'll be rooting for Purdue. I'll be rooting for all the Big Ten teams. I think some have, a better chance than others, of course. I have several that I think are going to get knocked out the first time. But I actually had Northwestern going a couple rounds because I think that that's a team you can't sleep on. I think we did it a couple times this year. Purdue did it this year. So coming from our conference, I think people need to watch out for Northwestern a little bit. Of course, they're going to be going up against probably UCLA in the second round. So I don't know, that's probably not going to go their way. But I do think that they're a team to watch out for. And I'm interested. I watched Bama's championship game over the weekend, and I think, they're kind of the number one that stands out to me the most in terms of just being really, really tough. I had them going pretty far, and I'm interested. Is it Vassar? They're Houston's player.
Marcus Sasser.
Thank you, Vassar. If he's playing, I think that they're a lot stronger.
Yes,
but if
100%.
they don't, that could be one of those 16-1 upsets that you see the first week. So but as we say, all the games are exciting. There's not a single one that isn't entertaining to watch. I don't care if it's a blowout. It's just fun to watch them all day long. And I'm just hoping for that IU win. And I'm hoping that IU and that Drake is able to pull off a win over Miami. And then it could be an IU-Drake matchup.
That would be great.
Because that would be a lot of fun, watching Drake play ISU and stuff. I think that they're a team, too, that you shouldn't, overestimate or underestimate too much either. So what about you, Jack?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great games. Back to that Purdue point, I think Purdue's got the talent to go pretty far, but I do think they have a tough draw. Both Memphis and Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's 31-3, so they're good too if they win that game against Memphis. They both have talented big men who can maybe not stop Zach Edey, but maybe limit him a little bit. And when you can they're both like 7 feet tall. Obviously, Zach Edey's 7'4", so you're not going to be able to match his height like all the way. But when you have a guy who's talented and 7 feet tall, it's going to limit Zach Edey a little bit there. But I think Purdue getting Duke potentially in the Sweet 16 is
Or
tough.
Tennessee,
or Tennessee, right? But
Tennessee.
Duke obviously is 19-1 when they have their starting lineup healthy. So I mean, they're a team to watch out for. They won the ACC. They won 9 in a row heading into the tournament. But there's a lot of fun games. I like Drake to upset Miami. I think Miami's got a lot of injuries. In terms of which region is the toughest, I think it's the West. You got Kansas, UCLA, UConn, and Gonzaga as the top 4 seeds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you could even throw in St. Mary's there. And I think those 5 teams are in the top, 20 analytically in college basketball. But it'll be a fun weekend. I'm not sure who I'm going to pick to win the national championship. I'm going to be honest. Alabama's very good. I will say that. I think they're probably the most talented team, but I'm just excited to watch all the games on Thursday and Friday.
How do you feel about your Vols?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, losing Zakai Ziegler kind of hurts the vibe for sure, the point guard. But if Tennessee can beat the Raging Cajuns, they would get probably Duke, but I don't know. Oral Roberts is pretty good. Duke's only a couple points
Roberts
favored
is very
over
good, yeah.
Oral Roberts.
They
We'll
won
see.
30 games.
I think it's a bonus season if the Vols could just get to the Sweet 16. They would be overachieving. If that means you would win 2 games in the tourney. Rick Barnes hasn't done that in a while. So Tennessee and Purdue met in 2019. It'd be great to see them meet this year in the
Yeah, that'd
Sweet
be a great
16.
game.
I also think Kentucky does well when they are underseeded. They get Providence. A former Cat plays for Providence, but we guys know how Kentucky, they're either going to, it sounds cliche, they're going to lose this first game or they're going to go on a deep run because Oscar Tshiebwe's still there. Coach Cal knows how to coach in the NCAA tournament.
There's a lot of pressure on Coach Cal because they haven't won an NCAA tournament game, I think, in 4 years, and you can't do that in Lexington, Kentucky. So I think he's going to have his team ready to play for that one.
Speaking of Kentucky fans love Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino's coaching Iona. They're playing UConn.
That's a fun coaching matchup.
A lot of people are high on UConn. UConn hasn't won a tourney game, I think, in 3 years either. So if Bobby Hurley, they lose to Rick Pitino that first game, you're going to hear some upset UConn fans as well.
And we were talking with Coach Kansas. You can never
you
really
never count out
overlook
Kansas.
them.
UCLA's defense.
Yeah, you've got those blue bloods that are there that are really, you have to take into account just the confidence of playing and being successful so many times. Yes, anything can happen in March. That's why it's so incredible to watch. But you have to take into account just the amount of time that some of these coaches have spent in March. And I mean, that does go pretty far. But I'm excited. I just really, really, really want to beat Kent State.
Yep.
Just really bad, Jack.
I'm happy
really
to play
bad.
moderator this week.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping for a good game.
You're gonna look so good in that cream and crimson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You look good in the blue and gold too. Hopefully we get to see that.
Right? I can't wait to see what happens. Another good game, Penn State, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Penn
Yeah.
State almost came back against
Yeah.
Purdue. A&M obviously against Alabama. Both teams were in the title game. I think the winner of that game could do some damage
Oh,
because
yeah.
you probably play
I mean,
Texas in the next round.
Yeah, and I think A&M, I think you and I both agree, they're pretty underseeded. They finished second in the SEC, and like Kentucky's seated above them, Tennessee's seated above them. I don't think Texas A&M is a 7 seed. I think they're a lot better than that. But Penn State's good. They got a second-team
Oh.
All-American, too.
If they get hot behind the arc,
Exactly. If they can
woo,
shoot
yeah.
the ball, they can beat anybody. So I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of people picking them to go on a run as well.
Yeah, if they're hot behind the arc, they are a monster. They are not fun to play. So, yeah, that is a good matchup.
Best of luck to everyone on their brackets. We have to touch on ISU, of course, being the one
Yes.
seed in the
Oh,
CBI.
yeah.
They're going to Florida. You kind of know at this point, okay, yes, we want to go get some fun and sun, but as Coach Shirt said, it's a business trip too. You want to win some college basketball games because if 22 wins, I think if they could get to 23 or 24, that'd be the most wins in a season since the Bird era in '79.
And what an opportunity for ISU. Obviously, we've mentioned the culture that Coach Schertz is building there. This is just an opportunity to build on that. You know, you get to play in these meaningful games in this postseason tournament, the number 1 overall seed. I think they got a chance to go on a run, maybe win that whole thing if they can. That would just, speak the volumes to the how far the program's come in just 1 year removed from an 11-win season. Like you said, 23, 24 wins potentially on the table. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, and it says so much about how the university is invested in the program too. To have them be able to go and do something like this, and be a 1 seed, go in there with some confidence, and it will be a business trip. We know Coach Schertz, he takes it seriously, but also just how much fun is it for these guys to continue to get to play, and they don't have to hang up those jerseys yet, and it's fun for us too to get to watch them and get to see them continue to play. I wish them all the best of luck. I hope we're watching them throughout the whole tournament. Like you said, Jack, that'd be great.
Can't wait to see what happens with that. Well, finally, we have to close. This happened as we were recording the podcast. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Certainly, football is all in the forefront of our mind. Your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers heading over to the AFC now? It appears the NFC quarterbacks not as good as they used to be.
The AFC, I think, has probably maybe the 7 or 8 best quarterbacks in football right now. Besides Jalen Hurts, I would throw him in there. But good for Aaron Rodgers. You get to go to the Jets, follow Brett Favre's footsteps. He obviously went from the Packers to the Jets. But the Jets are going to be good. I mean, they had a really good defense last year. People thought they were quarterback away. Now they have that quarterback. And obviously that division's good, though, too, with Miami and Buffalo, who both made the playoffs. But Aaron Rodgers, good for him. That's all I got to say. He's going to make some money. Good for the Jets. Seems like they have a real quarterback for the first time since probably Joe Namath. So
Speaking of that, I wish they would go back to those old uniforms. I don't
yeah.
like
Yeah,
the
those are
Jets'
cool.
ugly 80s uniforms
Yeah.
that they rock with Zach Wilson, the mom hunter. They rock with those.
Yeah.
I want the old school Jets uniforms, and we'll see if, he follows in Favre's footsteps now.
Yeah, I'm so disenchanted with Aaron
Right.
Rodgers. It's just like, whatever. Okay, let him be there. Another
at least
AFC
he made his
quarterback.
decision,
yeah.
right? He was
Yes,
dragging it
we
out.
can now
Yeah.
sleep
Yeah, I
tonight.
need to go back and see if the Steelers have them this year and what's going on with that. So I guess we'll see there. But other than that, good for him, I guess.
Good
I
for
don't
him.
know. He
Back-
annoys me.
Hey, we talk about everything on the podcast, but basketball front and center this week.
Yes.
Happy early St. Patrick's Day. Best of luck in your brackets. For Nicole and Jack, thanks for watching our Going to the Hoop podcast this week. And our director, Luke, we will see you next week and find out which teams are going to the state finals.